Sup, y'all? It's me, it's your boy Asmongold, and hey, I figured I'd talk to you guys about all the hype and speculation that's been kind of surrounding the potential announcement of the new World of Warcraft expansion. Now, I know that a lot of you guys have really asked me about this, and people have been sending me tells, you've been sending me YouTube messages, Facebook messages, y'all have even been sending me Snapchats asking me, what do I think about this? And honestly, I'll give you guys a long story short before we really get into this. I think that there is going to be an expansion announcement very soon, probably at Gamescom. And I'm fairly certain that that's going to happen, and I'll kind of tell you guys why for a number of different reasons. And I know that I didn't really want to make this video, honestly, and there was one thing that happened that made me change my mind. And what happened was apparently on the PTR or on the beta server, whatever else, the build was updated from 6.2.1 to or 6.2 whatever. It was updated to 7.0, and so obviously those first numbers are what I guess indicates the new expansion. 2.0 was Burning Crusade, 3.0 Wrath of the Lich King, 4.0 Cataclysm, so on and so forth. And so anyway, you guys can obviously see the the significance of this, and it definitely indicates that a new expansion is on the horizons. A lot of people have made different speculations about what it's going to be. Now, is it going to be this, was it a Dark Prophet or something like that? Now, I read through all the fan theories and everything, and I don't really think it will be, honestly. I think it's going to be something that we're not really going to expect, to be honest. It could also be the Eye of Ashara. You guys might have forgotten about that. I made another, I don't have it with me, but I made another tinfoil hat video about the Eye of Ashara and, how that could potentially be the new WoW expansion and everything else, that would kind of be related to that. Now, could it potentially be the Dark Prophet, the Eye of Ashara, or even Corgis Unleashed? Okay, that could possibly happen, but I think that all of these things are all potentials, and I can't really say for sure what really it's going to be. And I'm actually curious to see what you guys think about what the expansion is going to be. But I'll tell you guys kind of why I think that the expansion is going to be coming out soon, and I'll give you my logic behind it. Now, the main real reason is because Blizzard's wanted to push yearly expansions for a very long time, and I'll talk to you guys after this about what I really think about yearly expansions. Hopefully, if I don't forget, I don't really have a script for this video or anything. I'm just fucking I'm just YOLOing it. All right, just saying that right now, in case I forget something or mess something up. Anyway, for one, they've been saying they've been wanting yearly expansions for a couple of expansions, right? And with Warlords of Draenor, it's been a 2-patch, really only one big patch, which is 6.2. 6.1 is more of a minor patch, and one big patch and then the next expansion, and that has kind of bothered a lot of people, but at the same time, a lot of people are happy about it because they're able to just move on, and a lot of people kind of want to just forget that Warlords of Draenor happened, and luckily, since it's an alternate timeline, there's a very good possibility that will occur. The other reason is that apparently, and I read this, or I didn't read, I watched it on a buddy of mine, Bell Gaming, Mike's, his YouTube video about this, that he made it way before mine, and, because again, I didn't really want to make it until that 7.0 beta build came out, and I thought that was a good indicator. He said that in Gamescom, Blizzard rented out a much larger area to, do their, their announcements and their, presentation or whatever. And so I think that that's another good indicator that something is probably going on, and I don't really know what it is. It could be more Overwatch stuff. It could be a release date for Overwatch. We already know that there's probably going to be, we do know for sure that there's going to be the new StarCraft Legacy of the Void expansion. That's going to be the Protoss one, the final StarCraft 2 expansion, and also probably maybe a Diablo 3 expansion. That's a possibility. Now, the reason that I think that it's going to be a WoW announcement and not a Diablo announcement is, for one, Diablo is not really one of their big games. Diablo, in my opinion, has not really succeeded as much as, of course, not as much as Diablo 2, and I don't really think it succeeded as much as Blizzard would hope that it would in terms of, keeping players throughout the different seasons. And so if they're going to do all of this different stuff, it probably isn't just going to be for a Diablo game, and I would expect to see more of that in BlizzCon. And also BlizzCon, you got to remember, BlizzCon is in November, and so let's just look at the timeline, guys. So right now, it's almost August, and so let's say it's August, okay? That's the eighth month in the year. Okay, look, I might mess this up. It's the 8th month in the year, and November is the 11th month, and so that's going to be a 3-month wait. 10 in Jungle and 6.2 has already been out for a couple of months, I believe, at least 1 month. And So if they don't announce the expansion until BlizzCon, we can pretty much expect to spend a year in 6.2, in 10 in jungle, hunting for those Apexis crystals and getting the was unseen influence quest every single day. And I don't really think that anybody's going to want to do that, and especially Blizzard, because if Siege of Orgrimmar proved anything, is that people really kind of do get tired of content after a long period of time. And I do believe that patch 5.4 did have more replayable content than patch 6.2 does right now, and so I think that the burnout will be even faster than it was in 5.4. If they do that and 6.2 does end up being a year long, it will be catastrophic. I don't really think that they'll ever really be able to recover from that. If for nothing else, they won't really be able to recover that goodwill that they had. And so those are the main two reasons. And so let's look at the timeline here about really when we could really expect the expansion. And of course, guys, it kind of goes without saying, but I will preface this and say it anyway. This is all speculation. I don't know. I have no idea. This is just my ideas and my thinking based on previous experience and just I don't know, not really common sense, but just what I've observed. And so, okay, let's say, and I think that this would be really the only way that Blizzard could really maintain and get back some of the goodwill that they lost with their customers. A lot of people have felt duped and kind of cheated in a way with Warlords of Draenor. Quantitatively, in a lot of ways, you can say that Warlords of Draenor has offered less content than any of the other previous expansions, maybe outside of Cataclysm if you don't count the revamp of all of the old zones. And, on top of, offering less content, it's cost more money and it's a shorter expansion. A lot of people feel cheated, they feel duped, and, people Blizzard has always been one of those companies that's had a lot of really diehard fanboys. I wouldn't really consider myself really a fanboy, but I've been a big supporter of Blizzard, as you guys can see right here. And so I have had this shirt since I was 16 years old, and I'm still wearing it. And, this is my WoW hoodie, and I proudly wear this hoodie, and I've always been a big supporter of Blizzard, but it's very disappointing to me that they've been making decisions recently that make it harder for me to support them. And what I really think that they could do now is that if they did release not really release, but announce the expansion now, and then they released it, they just had BlizzCon was just the ultimate fucking it was just hype con for whatever this expansion is, and a month later, I was about to say a year, not a year later, hopefully not a year later, a month later they actually announced the expansion. I think that would probably be the strongest, the best thing that they could do. Now, obviously, I have no idea if they're going to do this or not. This would be what I would prefer. It would be what I would hope. Okay, but I really don't know if it's going to happen, and there's a lot of reason to think that it probably won't. It's been kind of disappointing for me to see kind of things change as much as they have, especially with people disliking the Blizzard themselves, and I'm not really defending them at all. It's disappointing entirely. It's disappointing to see them making these decisions. It's disappointing to see people who, on the general forums, you used to always have people who were very defending, they would always defend Blizzard and everything like that. You don't really see quite as much of that, and just giving the company the benefit of the doubt is an unpopular opinion, and I think that at that point, they've obviously burned a lot of bridges and broken a lot of goodwill that they had with their core customers. A lot of people that are very fanatical, if they feel like that they've been cheated by something that they kind of trust, they become fanatically against it also. And so I think that that's kind of one thing that's happened. Now I will kind of talk to you guys about, will this expansion? I remember I did this video, and it's called Will Warlords of Draenor Save WoW? Okay, and maybe I should title this one whatever, the Corgis Unleashed, of course. Will Corgis Unleashed Save WoW? And I'll tell you guys really what I think, and I'm gonna make a bigger video about this. I'm probably gonna do a stream event and really discuss this with some other people in the community, and maybe some other people that I know, and really talk about this more about what really the sense of progression, what the sense of progression has lost over the years. And, I know for a lot of people, this isn't really what they play the game for, but there are a lot of people who also who do play the game for that. And I believe that whenever Warlords of Draenor was announced, and, just the whole idea of going back in time, it was even a metaphorical going back in time that I believe that people thought that it would be going back in time to return the form of the original game in its state, in a way. And then you had Grom, Hellscream, Gul'dan, all these Kil'Rong, Balrog, all the other warlords, and old Akama, and you're even going back to Outland, which is of course like, I mean, you can obviously see the symbolism of doing this, and so a lot of that's what brought back, I think, all those literally millions of people. They all wanted to. I think that people say that like MMOs are dead or something like that. And I think that the fact that, I think was it like over 3 million people came back to the game to play Warlords of Draenor was not only a testament to their advertising, which was fucking amazing. Like, I mean, let's be real. I mean, that Gorehowl in that car was fucking cool. But besides that, it was also, just the idea of going back and not just reliving the past in a way, but in a future sense. And I think that a lot of people felt that way. And going into Warlords of Draenor, it turned out to be the opposite in a lot of ways, with like the garrisons and like kind of like people comparing it to a Facebook game. And I don't really want to get into too much of the criticisms of Warlords of Draenor in general, but I do want to talk about some key elements I believe that like fundamental problems with the game that I think that the next expansion, whatever it is, really needs to address. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to tell you guys that the game, like World of Warcraft in general, is going to make some kind of a comeback in the same way that I thought it would with Warlords of Draenor. Now, I think that the main thing, honestly, guys, is that a game really has to cater to a young competitive audience, especially a game like World of Warcraft that has so much built around like fundamental elitism, with like being higher level than somebody, having better gear than somebody, being able to get things that are that are unavailable to other players. And a more emphasis on that prestige and on in a way the elitism, but more or less the prestige and also the aspiration of it. I think that whenever, as I said, I'm going to do a bigger video about this, but pretty much, like, long story short, is I think that they really need to go have more of a return to form to Burning Crusade and vanilla types of progression. In terms of raid progression. The way, whenever in vanilla, for example, whenever you hit level 60 after 3 months, after you hit level 60, you did UBRS, and then you did Molten Core, then you maybe did CG, and those are alternative, and then AQ20, BWL, AQ40, and then maybe you wiped on Spiderwing Trash and Nax, okay? And so anyway, obviously, like, you're going from one raid to another raid, and one of the big fundamental problems that I see with the game now is that you're basically repeating the same content, only harder. And for somebody who isn't a very serious player, it kind of removes that sense of progression, and that they're actually like really moving up in the game. It seems like they're kind of in a way regressing, because like you kill Archimonde on Heroic, and now you're wiping on Hellfire Assault on Mythic. You guys can obviously see how that could be demoralizing and demotivating for somebody, and I really hope that they do something to fix that. It's been a really big problem to me. I've said this a million times. It's not progression, it's repetition, and doing 4 different difficulties. I do also think that they should put more power back into players' hands and emphasize more entry-level raiding outside of LFR, where you actually have to interact and cooperate with other players. And if they could do that fundamentally down the line, how it used to be in vanilla, I think that would help people a lot. Right now, and I think I talked about this before, you go all the way up to level 100, and then you do LFR, and there's not really ever a point in that game, in that experience, where you really have to compromise with another player if you don't want to. There's never a point where you really have to do something that you don't really want to do in the same way that you'd have to do in vanilla. And, there's never really a point where you have to compromise or change your play based on the needs of other people. And so you have this, this experience that happens, and regardless of if this is a good or a bad thing or whatever, this is kind of irrelevant. You hit the wall at Archimonde, and then you kill Archimonde on LFR. It'll come out, and that'll be it. And then you immediately go, to this giant brick wall, which is normal modes. And there is a huge, huge difference between having to, just being put in a raid and being protected by kick protection and doing something wrong. And you're being effectively rewarded all the time before that by, being given gear, being given levels and everything like that. And you've never really had to, not you, but this player, or if it is you never really had to, as I said, improve your play or compromise or have to deal with other players and compromising situations. And, because of that, I think that a lot of people are not really able to make that transition into raiding that they used to be able to make back all the way up. I would say like LFR really created this, but honestly, I would say at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, that was kind of really the end of it. Whenever they revamped all the zones to get rid of a lot of the group quests and everything like that. Before that, you really did have to cooperate with other players and do things with other players while you're leveling up. And so by the time you really got to level 60, level 70, you had already made a few dozen friends, and you knew really kind of what to expect, and you knew kind of in a way how to interact with people. And so making that first step into your raid wasn't as big of a leap as it is now. And because of that, I think that people are not really able to experience the same type of in-game that maybe we experienced in 2006, 2007, and because of that, it's just really kind of that's what I really believe to be a fundamental problem with the game. Is that you don't really get that same sense of reward. You can't really mail somebody Invincible's reigns. Now I know you guys want this, by the way. I know y'all want it. You can't really mail somebody Invincible's reigns in the mail, and then they're going to really feel like a winner, okay? They'll see everybody else has one, and it will really kind of lose its value. You can't tell somebody they're a winner. They have to know that they're a winner. And, the old experience really kind of created that in a much better way, I believe, than the new experience does now. If they do, bring in a new expansion and it just is kind of like more of the same, you level all the way up to 110, 120, whatever, and then you finally get to the in-game content and it's just, like you do heroics, you do, LFR, and then you don't really have to cooperate or compromise or deal with other players anywhere through this process. You're probably going to see the same drop-off of players, and also, again, whenever you're just doing the same content effectively over and over and over, people are going to get burnt out just because they're sick of seeing the same fucking guy. What I would really like to see happen is this would also solve two problems. For one, it would solve the repetition problem, and also what it would solve is the item level inflation problem. If you guys don't really know, I would say that whenever people are, continuously killing heroic Archimon, like maybe, I'd say like 740-ish item level average with the legendary ring and everything, I would say most people are going to be able to do at least 100,000 DPS, and that only puts us at the first tier of Mists of Pandaria, and so we're already past Cataclysm already with this item squish, and so lowering the amount of difficulties is actually going to help lower the kind of like with not really the spectacle creep, but in a way, just the increasing item levels. And whenever you have 4 difficulties, you have to make them different item levels, or one difficulty doesn't really feel that much more rewarding, and there's not really as much reason to do it. Back in the day, there was only like one type of difficulty. I would prefer that there was just 2. I think 3 would really be too many, and 4 is it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. That is really the main problem that I think that is wrong with the game right now, is that they don't have that same sense of satisfaction, sense of accomplishment that players have to give themselves. You can't make somebody a winner. They have to make themselves a winner. And, if this new expansion can, create that new return to form and make people feel like they're a winner, this expansion is obviously, it will be able to retain players in a way that Warlords of Draenor was not. Warlords of Draenor also had a lot of really big problems, and let me see how long this video is. I don't really want to go on too long. Okay, it's not really too bad. Warlords of Draenor had a lot of other really big problems, and I would say that probably the other biggest problem that they had was the lack of not really outdoor, but out of raid content. Mythic dungeons were kind of a band-aid fix for this, and so was some of the other world content in Tana and Jungle. But most people don't raid, and having all of the best gear behind raids and everything like that has been a real it's been a real detriment, I believe, to the game. And having these crafting is an entirely different argument, and I would love to go into that at another point. But I do think that crafting is it really does need a revamp. Back in the day, crafting was really a form of progression for non-raiders, especially in Burning Crusade and in vanilla. Now it's really not. You just wait for your daily cooldown and pick up your stuff. Some of these things that were, I would say, like less convenient, created more immersion, and also, created more involvement and dedication within players, and that is, in my opinion, a good thing to an extent. Of course, it's always to an extent, but more than it is now is really what I'm trying to say. I'm very happy with, I would be very happy if they brought out the expansion this year. Now, as I said, that's about like 4 months, okay? And so, what is really the probability of this happening? I don't know. I really don't know. But the better they release it, the faster they release it, the better. And I think that that would probably be, the best thing that they could do right now. And it seems to me like I've talked about this before, there's really been a communication breakdown between the Blizzard developers and the community and players in general. People don't really know what to expect, what's really going on. And so hopefully we can see an improvement with that. Maybe at BlizzCon they'll talk about that. I would really be surprised if they didn't. But then again, I've been surprised with a lot of other things as well. I didn't think patch 6.2 would be the last patch of the expansion, but it seems to be that way. What do I really think is going to be the next expansion? I have no idea. I really have no idea. I really would want it to be something like Eye of Ashara or, like a South Seas expansion. They need to do something like they need to give people a new type of vanity reward. Like having like ships or something like that would be a new type of vanity reward. And I was having this discussion. This is going to be the last thing I talk about. I was having this discussion with somebody else, and we were talking about nether drakes and why somebody would just bust their ass and just work and work and work every single day just for this mount, just for this nether drake mount. And people were saying, "Oh, well, it was fun." It was, y'all remember back in those fucking mines, like, you were next to peons, because that's what you were, okay? You were a slave looking in there for those eggs, collecting those crystals, killing those flayers. It was the worst, okay? And then you finally get out of there, and you get killed by one of those big Draconoid guys that kills you in, like, 3 hits, okay? It was just awful, okay? Like, let's be real. The reason that people did it is because the nether drakes had some sort of, they had prestige behind them, and also there weren't really a million other flying mounts. Everybody didn't already have their favorite flying mount. It's the same with titles. Everybody didn't already have their favorite title that they use. I like to use the Indomitable title or Immortal or something like that. Unless I had just killed a new, in-tier raid boss, I probably don't really use that title. I have like my own, favorite titles, and then I also have my own favorite mounts. And so whenever you have 200 mounts, the diminishing return of getting another mount is lower. And, now that because people have so many other mounts available to them that are very easy to get, giving somebody a mount as a reward is not as enticing and rewarding as it used to be in Burning Crusade. Whenever, you had the Griffin, and then you had the Griffin. Oh, then you had the Griffin without any armor that didn't even go as fast, okay? So it's not like even if you liked it. So you really only had, one choice, okay? And, a lot of people, didn't want to ride the Griffin around, so you got the Nether Drake, and this is fucking awesome, and that's why people did it. I believe that a lot of it did come from the prestige, and, hopefully they can really kind of bring some of that back for players. I think it's really important to give people that sense of reward, sense of accomplishment, and that's really... whenever people watch the South Park episode, I think that was really something that a lot of people, because they had a positive reaction and reception from the Warcraft community. And I think that one of the reasons for that is that it really kind of tapped into the ethos and, mentality of the people who, would sit there and grind boars for 8 hours a day. And, just to, for that aspiration. And if they can bring that aspiration back and give that back to the people in the same way that I was able to get it and a lot of other people were today, that's what makes people keep playing a game for 10 years. And so I'm really hoping that the new expansion will do that. Will it? I don't know. I'm reluctant to say that I think it will. I don't know. Worlds of Draenor has been a big disappointment for me. I'm sure it has been with a lot of you guys. And, I think that we all are really, we really care about this game. And it's just kind of disappointing to see decisions being made that don't really, accurately reflect, what the player base wants in our minds. And, of course, this is just my opinion. I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't really have, I don't work at Blizzard. I have no idea. I'm not a game developer. This is just the way I feel. And a lot of other people, it seems to me, feel the same way. And so hopefully I'm voicing your concerns as I voice my own. I really hope that they can turn it around. And, no matter what it is, I'll be playing it on alpha, even if it's Corgis Unleashed. Even if it is Corgis Unleashed, I'm going to be playing it on alpha, and I'm going to show you guys what it's like, at least. And so, until then, I hope that, well, I'll talk about whenever it's announced, hopefully in 2 weeks. But until then, that's pretty much all I've got for now. Hopefully the expansion is released soon, and hopefully the expansion is announced soon and released also soon. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any other questions, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Like, is this like what do you think? Like, are you gonna get the new expansion? I don't know. Like, I honestly don't even know what to ask you what to say because there's just so much stuff to think and talk about. I think that you guys know. Like, y'all put in comments on all kinds of shit. I don't even have to ask you. But just let me know what you think. That's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for watching, and like, comment, subscribe.